Hey, I saw this video and I thought we'd talk about it, so let's do it.
Growing up, I was obsessed with video games.
Yeah,
I
me
remember
too.
getting my first ever Game Boy and playing Pokemon Red non-stop.
Video games was probably the first thing that I ever got into all the way. That really captured me and made me want to do it forever. I think the first thing that ever happened was that I played a Nintendo Castlevania, and I clicked into it. The way that it challenged me, I was so young. I mean, I this is such a barely formed memory, probably 3 years old or so, and and the way that I was just completely incapable of doing it, and then watching my cousin do it made me want to get better so bad.
Or laughing my ass off with my family playing tennis and bowling and Wii Sports, getting absolutely dunked on in Halo 3 by my friends, and spending way too much time building the ugliest houses you've ever seen in
I This person must be so young.
Minecraft. I loved immersing myself in all these different worlds. And as time
Yeah.
went on,
Ocarina of Time was such an interesting game for me because I never got to play it on Nintendo 64. I went and bought a GameCube when I was 11 years old. They had dropped the price down to $99, and I had gotten enough money for my birthday and Christmas from all of my family members to pull that together. So I went and got a GameCube, and I wanted one of the silver ones, I want to say. But the guy there literally said, let me put a bug in your ear first, because if you buy the silver one, you don't get anything with it. But if you buy the purple one, it comes with this Zelda Collector's Edition video game that had Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda 1 and Legend of Zelda 2, and then a Wind Waker demo on it. And I spent the next 2 years of my life beating Wind Waker, or not Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. And I can't believe that I had missed out on those adventures when I was younger. I had played some of the Zelda games before because I had a Game Boy Color. So I played the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages games. But man, Ocarina of Time was completely different than that. And just, I couldn't believe that there was a 3D Zelda game like that I had just never played. And then Majora's Mask became my favorite game after I had played through that one. And then I played Zelda 1 and 2. And actually, Link's Adventure, Zelda 2, was my favorite of those two for sure, and I still play that game. One of my favorite things to do is when I'm around people who care about video games and really think about them and know that Zelda 2 is a really hard game, to put that game on and play it, because I can get so far into that game. I can get all the way to Death Mountain without dying easily.
played more and more different games. I dreamt about the day where I could afford my dream PC.
Oh man, I didn't get a good PC until this year. It took me so long. I'm 29 years old, and I had never had a good PC in my entire life. I've been playing on consoles and cruddy PCs. I got a laptop when I was in high school. My stepmom bought it for me after my grandmother passed away. And I played a lot of games on that. We had a crappy gateway computer at my parents' house that I had played some games on, but man, I had always wanted a PC. I had spent so much of my life being very jealous of my friends who had one.
And have the time and money to spend towards any game I could ever want. And yet, as I got older and began to achieve that dream, my motivation to play those video games started to fade. I had so much more time now, and an amazing PC, as well as an absolute chonker of a Steam library. So why do games no longer feel...
So I've sort of had the opposite effect happen to me, where as I've gotten older, I've actually had more desire to play video games. From the time that I was 16 to 23, I really didn't touch video games very much at all. And that's because I was playing music, and I was in a band, and every single weekend was spent to, Saturday or Friday and Saturday playing a show, and Thursdays we would practice on, and during the other times I had to work and go to school and all of that. So I just didn't have any time to play video games. And then I got a PS3 when I was 23 or so, 22, 23. And I got Dark Souls for it, and that really reignited my love for video games. I became obsessed with the game for the first time ever. And then I got to Skyrim, and I played through Skyrim, and it was okay. But it took a lot of hours out of my life, too. And then I just became obsessed with video games, and I've been going down this path ever since. I got a PS4 probably in, I don't know, I was probably 24 at the time, 25. I got a PS4, and I bought that to play Dark Souls 3 because I really wanted to play Dark Souls 3. And then over the past 4 years, after the pandemic especially, I got really heavy into video games. I mean, I've put hundreds of hours across. Yeah, I've put hundreds of hours into a game multiple times. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of 600 plus hours into video games multiple times since the pandemic started. World of Warcraft, Dead by Daylight, RuneScape. I'm playing Fortnite super heavy now. I've played a lot of single player games, GTA 5. I went back and played Heavy Rain. Just tons and tons of games. And I can't imagine.
Fun. I had to force myself to open new games, and even then I wouldn't actually play them.
I do get these little droughts where no video game sounds interesting to me, and it probably comes from being super busy, which happens to me pretty regularly. And when I'm super busy, I know that a video game like World of Warcraft is going to demand a month of me playing it, and I just don't have that time to give. So I don't want to log in and spend 30 minutes doing a raid or something, or a dungeon, and that's it. I just don't have an interest in playing a game that takes a lot of my time away. And in those periods, I'll normally like pick up a single player game. Here recently it was GTA 5, and I'll put an hour in it here and there and just sort of work through it slowly. I played Disco Elysium, and that game was extremely good to just jump in and out of.
Just sit there not enjoying myself. Nowadays, it seems like a lot of people are going through the same thing.
Well, people are getting older.
A teenager and kind of head into their 20s. Their love for something that once dominated their childhood is...
Your early 20s are a time to get out there and enjoy things. And they're a time to get out there and find yourself and meet new people and do things out in the world. But at my age, at 29, I've done so much of that, and I've been so many places. I live in a decently small city, and I mean, I can't go downtown without people knowing who I am, and that's not a good or bad thing. It's just the truth. I've sort of done that in my area. I would love to travel and do some stuff like that, but other than that, I just kind of rather be home at this point. You know, home is where the fridge is.
Now wavering. If that in any way sounds familiar, then this might be the video for you. Recently, I've been trying different ways to reignite that passion for video games so that they can feel fun for me again. So in this video, I'm going to be going through 5 tips that I believe will help you to once again be able to enjoy video games. This is a super fun way to get back into games that you're already really familiar with. Maybe that passion for a game you've played for years is still there, and you're just looking for a way to mix things.
I don't know how I feel about this one already. Make it a challenge. I don't love setting unnatural challenges for myself, because at some point through that playthrough, I'm going to want to break that challenge. There are variations to this. My friend Alex has been telling me about how he's been playing his Iron Man on RuneScape, and I have an Iron Man account, and I do enjoy the different dynamic that gives you in RuneScape. But in general, there are so many games out there. If you're burned out on a video game, it's probably because you're really stuck on that one video game, and you've just done so much of it that you don't really want to play it that much anymore. And I often say on this channel that there's no bag of money at the end of any game that you play, so there's no reason for you to put in all of this effort into one game like it's going to pay your bills one day. And I know it could, and blah, 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 all that stuff, but try something new. Stop playing just one type of game. Stop playing only shooters, pick up an RPG. Stop playing only RPGs, pick up a fighting game. There's so much out there and so much different ways to play a game. There's so many different mechanics in a video game, or that a video game can have, that you probably haven't experienced them all, and you're just burned out on that one that you're playing.
To give yourself more incentive to continue playing it. The best thing about this tip is that you can pretty much apply it to any game you'd like to play. Pick a game or even a collection of games and just go into it with a specific challenge in mind. It could be trying to win a game using only one specific weapon, or attempting to beat the hardest difficulty in that game. It could be limiting what characters you use or what controls you're allowed to use, or just trying to complete it within a specific amount of time. One of the best...
This is a YouTuber thing, and I think that's sort of where this is coming from, is this idea of playing a game with a challenge. That's like a very content creative type of thing to do. Come up with a new interesting way to play this game that already has a really large fan base, so that you can get people to come in and watch your channel because you're doing something that sounds really interesting. But if you're just playing a game at home, maybe you're that type of masochist and you want to do that, but I don't know, man. I don't want to play through Dark Souls without getting hit.
Examples and most popular forms of making a game more challenging to make it more fun is probably Pokemon Nuzlocke. Implementing all of these new rules has made the game so much harder, but also created this new wave of relevance for a franchise that, difficulty-wise, is pretty obviously aimed towards kids. Another example is that I'm currently trying to beat Terraria on Master Mode within 100 in-game days. And knowing that I'm doing everything with that challenge in mind has made me...
Terraria is a really cool game. I remember when Terraria came out, and me and my friends got into it pretty heavy for a little while. We had already played through Minecraft quite a bit, so this is probably 2012, 2011, something like that. I believe I was probably in high school, and we did play a lot of Terraria. It's a pretty cool game. I like the mechanics of it and the way that it plays different than Minecraft. Minecraft feels like much more of a sandbox, and Terraria feels like a place that you actually have purpose, of things that you should be doing, because there's so many weapon upgrades and things that you can get by doing specific things.
way more excited to sit down and play the game every single day. The thing is, they don't even have to specifically be challenges. Something else that you can do is to just set specific goals for whatever game it is you're playing. Maybe it's the goal of the entire run of the game, or it's just...
I am right now trying to get the T60 power armor in Fortnite. That's my whole purpose for playing Fortnite. I'm just trying to get to level 50 in the battle pass so that I can get the T60 power armor and run around in the T60 power armor with my 3 friends who all have T60 power armor and just go around absolutely dunking on people. That is my only goal currently with video games.
For the specific...
Every free hour that I have to put into a video game is going into Fortnite right now. They pulled me back in. I am mad maxing it, and I'm honestly kind of tired of the cars. If you haven't played this season, they basically just made cars the entire thing, and you can get modifications for them, like spiked bumpers and bulletproof tires and turrets to put on them, and then you and your friends can get in the cars and drive around as a murder crew. And it's really fun. It was a lot more fun my first couple days playing it, but now it seems that every game goes exactly the same. You play through, you dunk on people for a little while, and then you get to the really small circles, usually about like this. There's like 8 people still around, and the people who still have a car, or the people who have the most nitro fists, are the ones who are going to take that win.
Succession. In my newest Minecraft world, my goal is to build my base almost entirely within the new biome that just came out. Even though I've been playing this game for years and I'm pretty much just doing the same things I always did, the entire vibe of what I'm doing is different because it's all inside this one brand new area.
We had a Minecraft stint in the past couple years as well. It had been a long time since I had come to Minecraft and played it, but it was a lot of fun to play with a larger group of people. There was 4 or 5 of us, 6 of us who were popping in and out of that world, and seeing things develop over time, and just the amount of space that got consumed by us playing that game in game was unbelievable. You think that you're building so far away from where you spawned at, and within a week of everybody going around and collecting resources, there are roads miles and miles and miles out past your house, and you just eventually start going, well, I'm going to build an entire village, I guess, and put villagers here.
Or you can sit down after work or school and say, hey, today I'm going to beat this specific boss, or finally complete that one building project, or I'm going to beat my fastest time. Sometimes the act of just playing the game can be too vague to get excited for, so making the actions you want to complete within the game more...
I only like to play a game if I'm going to go for a very long-term goal in it. Like, if I'm going to play Dark Souls, I want to beat Dark Souls. I don't want to beat a single boss. I want to play as much as I possibly can and get as far as I possibly can. But at times when you're stuck at a boss, it is a good idea to go through and learn its mechanics and just be like, I'm just going to spend today learning how to fight this boss. And that's always when you beat the boss on your first try.
Specific can help you get more focused on just getting through the game. This one might sound a bit weird, but hear me out. Playing games isn't necessarily immersing yourself in just the game. There's quite a lot that you can do outside the game to get yourself in the mindset of winding down and relaxing. Humans are creatures of habit. If you get yourself into...
This is really interesting. This is something that I've been playing with in my brain a lot recently. The idea of gaming as being just a leisure activity is incorrect to me. Gaming is a hobby, and you have to have discipline to keep up with your hobbies. When you don't want to do them, if you want to continue progressing in your hobby, you have to make yourself do them. If you really want to be a top player in a video game, you have to sit down every single day and play that video game, whether you want to or not. And I think that's a really mind-breaking thing for a lot of people, especially people who don't play video games. The idea of, I don't even want to be playing this game right now, but I play this game every day right now, and that's what I do, is it just sounds backwards because they're literally called games. They're supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that you do to enjoy it. But gaming is a hobby the same way music or knitting or reading books or anything is. And you have to have discipline with a hobby. You have to get deeper and deeper into it. And there is a huge push in your brain when you enjoy a hobby that you do, the way I do with video games. Most of the time, I don't have to do that. But when I don't want to be gaming, I'll give myself a couple days, but after a while, I go, okay, it's time to get back to it. It's time to get back in it. It's part of my life in this weird way. I pull value out of myself that way. I learn that way. I use it to get through other things. A lot of times when I'm studying for school, I'll just have RuneScape on the side window and just be doing AFK training methods for things, or doing Slayer, or doing whatever. That's sort of the way that I use games, and I don't want to fall out of it because I don't want to get behind in these games that I use to get through the rest of my life. I don't want to. When I was younger, I played music. I've said that already in this video. From the time that I was 23 until the time that I was 26, I'm 25. I maybe touched a guitar 10 times, and I had been playing guitar since I was 12 years old. And at a certain point, I tried to quit music. I tried to give it up. I tried to stop doing it. It wasn't going to do for me what I thought that it was going to do when I was younger. I thought I was going to be a rock star or whatever. And I tried to stop doing it because I knew it was sort of a waste of my time in a way. It was a thing that was taking away from the rest of my life, and I was giving all this time to it, and it wasn't giving me the reward back the way that I wanted it to. But then when I was 25, once again, when the pandemic happened, I could not stop thinking about making music. I had sold so much gear. I didn't even have an audio interface to be able to record music with anymore. I didn't own a microphone anymore. I didn't have a keyboard. I didn't have a beat pad. I had one guitar left and an acoustic guitar, and I didn't have a bass or anything. And I felt so guilty that I wanted to do this thing, and I had spent all this time away from it, and I had to come back and spend a whole 2 years just grinding skills out to get myself back up to where I had been. And I never want a hobby that I really love and know that I love to fall that far behind again. I never want to get that rusty at something again. I never want to have to catch back up to where I should be and where I know that I could have been if I would have just kept with something. And so now I'm very, very careful to be disciplined with my hobbying. Video games fall into that category. My friends a few years ago were all dramatically better than me at video games, and I couldn't even play any games with them. I couldn't play Fortnite with them because I was the guy who was standing still trying to aim, and it just felt terrible. So now I make sure that I'm putting in the hours so that when we have these moments like what we're having right now with Fortnite, where me and 3 of my best friends in the whole world are just every day being like, we are playing Fortnite, I can get in there and have a good time. I don't want to miss out on that fun because I have slacked off in my personal life. That's something that people don't get. You can't expect someone else to hang out with you all the way along your journey. You have to do your journey alone. I've been trying to this is the weirdest video. I've been trying to do I tried to stream, I tried to do a podcast, I tried to do the TikToks and just like all this different stuff. And I couldn't, I was grinding the skill, and I couldn't expect my friends to show up for me. I hate that thing that people do. When you want to come to my show, dude? I'm having my first show. I'm having my 4th show. I'm having my 12th show. Come to my show. I don't care, bro. Listen, man, I'm happy that you're doing it, but like, you've got to do it. It's not about me. And I'm glad to support. And I do have friends whose bands I go out and see. And I do have people whose videos I watch. But I genuinely like their content. I'm not the guy who's going to just who's just going to throw attention at you, because I think that's a narcissistic thing to do. I think that throwing attention at somebody is usually coming from a place of somebody going, well, I want them to do this to me, so I have to be really supportive so that I can network and I can get people to... That stuff makes me cringe, man. I can't stand that. So you have to get out there and grind on your own. And if you want to be good at something, that's about you, dude. That's not about those people. They can't give you an audience by just showing up for you. You have to earn whatever it is that you want, whether it be the skills in the game, whether it be the people watching you, whether it be whatever. You have to get out there and do that.
The habit of getting your gaming environment to be more comfortable.
I'm talking too much.
It'll make you feel more excited for when that time.
We're at 20 minutes. I'm in 3 minutes into a 10-minute video.
Clothes, plan a dinner or some snacks.
This is a shitty React video.
Play, and make sure you have some water and other drinks so that you don't have to get up in the middle of the session. Maybe hype yourself up with some music from the game or from something else before you play.
If
you make this huge big deal over getting to sit down on your chair or couch and just getting to play some games for a few hours, all your favorite snacks, it'll feel way more fun not only during the session, but all the way up to whenever you planned it for. Maybe you plan to play games on a Saturday after a long week of work. Don't just come home and go on your phone and then sit down, open a bunch of random games and stuff.
Set yourself up,
plan
man. Get Chinese food.
What you'll eat, and the most comfortable clothes to wear during that session. It's kind of like planning a date with yourself. Only it's not sad. I promise.
Well, there's nothing wrong with planning a date with yourself. There's nothing wrong with planning a fun evening for yourself to have. A lot of people, I think, I have no problem being alone for long periods of time. I enjoy my solitude. I really do. I like being by myself. I have a lot of things that I have to do, and I have a lot of people who have a lot of responsibility heaped on me I have a lot of people who count on me. That's what I'm saying here. And so my time with myself, I really, really value and appreciate. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't want to go out to a bar. Sorry. I want to stay home and I want to do the things that I want to do because I don't get to do that very much. And chances are I've probably already seen you this week.
My mindset is if you're going to do it, you should do it right. I think one of the hardest pills to swallow when it comes to gaming is that maybe the game that you put all those hours into every single day is just not that fun. Any game can be someone's favorite, but it would be a lie to say that every game ever created was just created to be a good game. If the games you play make you feel frustrated...
Bro, this is the thing, and this is why I don't play Souls games so much anymore. I am not emotionally mature enough to play a Soulsborne game. I get angry playing Fortnite. I'm not proud of it. I try not to do it. I try to keep a lighthearted feeling about it, but I want to win. I want to get better, and I'm frustrated with myself that I'm not getting better. I'm frustrated with myself that I'm not where I feel like I should be. So in those moments, I can get really overwhelmed. So one of the reasons that I stopped playing every Souls-like game that came out, and I realized this while playing through Elden Ring, was, I'm not having any fun. Not that this game isn't amazing, not that it's absolutely killer, but I'm not personally in a place right now where I should be playing this game. I need to play other things that make me happy. And those games that I started playing were a lot of games that other people said were trash and didn't like. But I enjoyed them.
Annoyed or like you're just wasting your time on them, it might be time to try some new games. And trust me, this is coming from someone who used to think League of Legends was fun. I mean,
League of Legends is fun, but I don't play it the way that some people play it.
It can be, but most of the time it's not. Leaving your comfort zone can help you to immerse.
League of Legends is fun because it's fun to solve a puzzle. And that's what I think is really interesting about video games in general, is that you can solve them and you can figure it out and you can learn to do something that you otherwise couldn't have done before. And that process can happen very quickly. So it can give you a feeling of achievement in a very small period of time. But if you're unable to solve a puzzle, and a lot of times I think that there's just games that you aren't ready for yet. You shouldn't throw yourself into the deep end of something if you haven't built yourself up to being able to do that thing. And a lot of times I think that that is that sort of thing.
Yourself in worlds that maybe you've never tried before. Recently, I just tried this random free game on Steam for the sake of just making a video on it. All I really wanted to do going in was give myself a proper chance of trying it. And then I found myself sinking hours upon hours into this game
Minecraft.
Because I was so determined to beat it. It was genuinely so fun sitting down and just going through the motions of the game over and over again to try and beat it. And I never would experience that if I didn't force myself to try a new game. And like I said, that game was free. So you don't necessarily need to spend money on new games just to try them. I mean, that's why demos exist, right?
Well, and that's the thing of a lot of my friends who are gamers and are like, "Oh, I don't play many games anymore. I can't think of a game to play." Blah blah blah. This stuff. And if you haven't played MapleStory, RuneScape, World of Warcraft, if you haven't played Fortnite, Apex Legends, if you haven't played Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, if you haven't played Tekken, if you haven't played Need for Speed, if you haven't played these games, you should go and play them and drop 70 hours into them. They are really good. There's a reason that people play those games. It's because they are good. And they might not be good forever, and they might not be a forever game for you, but they don't need to be. You can just enjoy playing that game, and no one needs to see you, and no one needs to watch you, and no one needs to see how good you are at it. You can just enjoy playing it. And that's something that people have such a hard time doing nowadays. And I know that it's because there's this idea that every second of your life should be spent farming content or making a skill that you can make a bunch of money off of or whatever. But, dude, things are bad. Just have some fun.
Not that many games nowadays have demos, but you get me.
Most games
There
have
might even be a
demos.
good chance that you're like me and you've bought games over the years just to never even try them.
I want to play Cyberpunk
So maybe
really
give
bad.
one of them a chance, because any game has the potential to suddenly be your new favorite. It doesn't even need to be a new game. Maybe there's a specific game mode in your current favorite that you avoid. There have been many times where I tried different maps
Totally.
or modes in a game years ago and decided they weren't fun just because of one negative experience. Then I
Yep.
come back to them and realize that they're some of my favorites. This is definitely the hardest tip on the list, and I
Yes.
fully acknowledge that. Making friends can be hard. I've recently been trying to branch out online to find people who play the same games as me, but nowadays the internet is so saturated with so many different types of people, and figuring out who you'd get along with or who plays the game the same way as you.
I had somebody in a comment the other day that blew my mind and has really been twisting my brain with their comment. And I just want to shout it out real quick here. You don't need to like people to play a video game with them. In fact, in his words, sometimes the guy that everyone hates is a very important member of the group. He's the guy that everyone hates. And that's so real. I had never thought of it like that before, but damn, he was dead on. The bad player in the group is just the worst person who's playing with you at that moment. But if they leave, you might be the worst person in the group. It doesn't, like, you don't have to just have a lot of fun talking to somebody. They can fill a role and be a person and just hang out. You don't have to absolutely love someone and have this super deep emotional connection with them just to be friends with them. And especially if you're doing something together. If you go and join a disc golf team or something, I don't know, does disc golf have teams? You go and join some softball team. You're not going to like everyone on that team, but the doing of the thing together makes them someone that then you know forever and you learn about and you get close to. It's bizarre. You don't have to love someone and click with someone just to make a friend.
Is a challenge in itself. But it still pays off once you finally find them. For me, I use Discord servers created for specific games like Minecraft or Destiny 2 or Phasmophobia, and then I went into the looking for group channels and just kind of scouted people out. Eventually I saw someone who I thought looked cool post a request for Phasmophobia, and by forcing myself to join that one session with that person, it ended up leading to me having a blast for hours and eventually making 3 new friends to play that game with. We even have a new group chat dedicated to planning out new games to try together. Reaching out at all is difficult.
Yeah,
And not everyone you meet
totally.
will be the right person for you. This tip itself might not even be for everyone.
And I'm an introverted type of person in general. I know that I probably don't seem that way sometimes, but I definitely am. And there is a hump that you have to get over before you reach out to somebody. There have been so many people that have messaged me through Reddit or through Discord or through a video game that I've played with them and tried to be my friend, and I've accepted their requests, and then we're like, oh yeah, we'll play, and then both of us just try out to be that like sort of introverted person, and we just can't ever sync up and play together. And you do have to get over that hump, but the first one is the hardest one for sure. If you have a hard time making friends with people, just get out there and be yourself and just And don't worry about whether or not they like you. If they want to play with someone they've never met before, they probably don't have a lot of people to play this game with anyways, and you'll be at the top of their list of people to play this game with because they don't have anyone else to do it with.
You could be very comfortable playing games on your own, which is completely okay.
Get in early.
I too really like the single player experience sometimes. But if you've been avoiding sending that game request message because you're worried it'll all go wrong, sometimes you just have to force yourself. Worst case scenario, it's not fun and you can just leave. But best case scenario, you make some long-term friends to play that game and maybe more with.
Totally.
Okie dokie.
I'm adding this extra bonus tip because although I think it can be extremely helpful for a specific type of person, I also understand that it's very situational. Nevertheless, a tip that I think could help you enjoy games more is to simply live stream it. If you know you enjoy the games you play and mostly just have a hard time with committing to them or focusing on them, then streaming them live could help with adding a little bit of pressure for you.
I don't agree with this. And the main reason is he has 42 views on this. This is a VOD though, and VODs often inflate their views. But most people who go to live stream, and this is my experience as well, most people who are live streaming have no viewers at all. 0 people are watching them. And that is not inspirational to continue on to what you're doing. And it is not a commitment. In fact, it becomes an extra level of difficulty and frustration. And it's this whole thing you have to do. You have to set up the camera and set up the mic, and you have to be on the whole time. You have to play this game and blah, blah, blah. And for some people that really works, but I don't think it actually does for them what they want it to do. I don't think that everyone sort of had this feeling at some point in their life. If you're a gamer and you wanted to live stream, you had this feeling that all I have to do is just start live stream. I want to live stream 6 days a week and everyone's going to know it. No, that is not what happens. I have made some really good friends through live streaming. I can think of 2 in particular that I did not know before live streaming. They found me through my stream, and I still talk to them. And that's basically it. And I streamed a lot. I streamed, man, I don't know. Over the past 4 years of my life, I've probably live streamed 1,000+ hours. Something like that. I know that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but I've live streamed a lot, and it never made me commit to a game. If anything, it burned me out on the game more.
You to just focus on the game. You'd also be surprised how fun it is to talk alongside playing the game. You don't even have to commentate if you'd like. Instead, just focusing on streaming the game specifically. Knowing that someone could be watching is just enough anxiety to make you actually play a game without being genuinely distressing. My partner has a very hard time focusing on video games, so she recently decided to try live stream a new one she wanted to try out. And it went great. She was able to actually focus on the game and outwardly vocalize her inner monologue for a whole 2-hour session of gaming. Again, I know this tip will not be for everyone. It's a very specific thing to suggest. And
totally. And like I said, I'm sure that there are people who do it, but don't feel like that you have to go and live stream video games. This comes back to my earlier point of just have fun playing video games. And when you're not having fun, just keep showing up anyways. The thing about going to the gym is that it doesn't matter if you want to do it or you think you're not going to have a great workout today or whatever. If you go to the gym, I heard this one time, there was a study that was done that 1 to 3 sets of a muscle group every single week will get you 60% of the possible gains that you would have gotten in that week. And so 40% is a huge number to leave on the table for sure, but 60% for one set is insane. The fact that if you just go and do it, period, you'll get guaranteed at least 60% of your gains. And that's the way I feel about playing video games. I think that you'll have 60% of your fun playing a video game if you just show up and do it. Even if you're not in the mood, even if you don't feel like doing it, you just show up and do it. And eventually you'll get pulled back in. You'll find something. Maybe not even play the same game, play a different one, jump around, but you'll figure something out if you just show up and keep putting those hours in.
And if you're just not comfortable with streaming, then there are plenty of other tips in this list to try. But maybe it's something you've already considered. And if so, this is some encouragement from me. Go ahead and try it. If you're just doing it for fun, you don't need to be worried about having the best commentary or gameplay or getting views or having.
And I do think that everyone should try to do a live stream. And I mean that from the perspective of just skill building for yourself. It is a very complicated thing to do a Twitch stream. One of the reasons that I got burned out on Twitch streaming so many times is because of all the things that start popping up in your brain of what you can do to get better at it. And you start thinking about all these things, you start realizing places that you can improve, and then you start realizing places that you can't improve. through, that you don't have the budget to buy a nice camera or nice lights or whatever, and you start to see all these cracks. And yeah, some people have an amazing personality, and it doesn't matter whether or not. I mean, there's people who are just a disembodied voice streaming a game, and they have tens of thousands of viewers all the time, and that's incredible. And maybe you're one of those people and you don't need that, but I always felt like I was pigeonholed a lot of times when I was live streaming because of all these things. But I think that experience is an experience that everyone should do. It's so humbling to think that people are going to come watch you and then nobody shows up. That's such an and then you're just stuck there for 3 hours by yourself, and a viewer pops in and they make a little conversation and they start trying to advertise their services to you, and that's the only viewer you got that entire day. That is so incredibly humbling, and it makes you understand what is so difficult about all of this stuff. And that's a thing that I see so much amongst the commenting community for creative people, not so much in my personal experience making stuff, but definitely in other people's really, really big streamers, really, really big YouTubers. People want to believe this idea that they have nothing special and no special skills, and they're not doing anything except just showing up and doing, but they have so much going on, and you realize that by trying to do the thing with no experience.
People chat. If it helps you to focus on your gaming, then that's great. If not, don't worry. This last tip might be for you. While the other tips on this list might seem hard, this might be the only one that you're upset to hear. Hence why I kept it for last. But unfortunately, it's just true. Sometimes the best thing to do when you don't enjoy something you used to is to take a break.
Yeah.
I believe that the reason this doesn't work for a lot of people is because they don't commit to it. If you want to try to take a break from gaming, you should really try to focus on the other things in your life, such as hobbies or spending time with friends and family. If you keep trying over and over to enjoy the same games and it's not working, then what harm is there in taking a week or two to spend that time on something else? Of course, it's not that simple, but maybe you can combine it with some other tips on this list to make it easier. You could reach out to some friends and plan to play this new game together on the weekend, or maybe a fun challenge in a game you already play together. Then take a break from games up until that day. And on the day, make sure to get loads of snacks and make your space more comfortable so it'll be even more fun. And there's a good chance you'll spend the whole time taking a break being excited for that one.
And this is that thing. I know I've talked about the discipline of showing up to do a hobby this whole time, but taking that break from music really did show me how important music was in my life and how there's no way that I can quit. I recently had a talk with a friend who I had sent a lot of music to, and he said, are you going to put out a record with all these songs you've recorded? Are you going to put out an EP? And I said, no. If I could quit doing this, I would. I just can't stop. It comes out of me, and it helps me de-stress, and it helps me be a person, and I need it in my life. But it's not something that I'm trying to chase. It's for me. It's my way of in the words of a day to remember, playing my songs is a way to cope with life. It's something that is good for me. And if you're somebody who thinks that, and I know a lot of kids feel this way, especially a lot of people as they approach their young adulthood, they start feeling like, oh, video games are just a thing that children do. And as you get older, you're supposed to throw all that away and you go to your job and you work really hard. Do that and see how that feels. And maybe it'll work for you. Maybe that is who you are. Maybe you're just a person who can show up every day and work your job, and you'll be completely fulfilled, and you'll make friends there, and maybe you guys go out and golf on the weekends or something. But there's a good chance that what will actually happen is you'll realize that the life out here in this world is nothing like what you thought it was going to be. I know it wasn't for me. I thought that I was going to get older and everything was going to fall into place, and it never happened like that. And so the things that help me cope are some of the most important things ever. And I really value that so much. I value this outlet to be able to make videos. I value the outlet to be able to play video games. I value the outlet to play music. I value working out. I value my job because it's also an outlet to cope in a weird way. Sometimes when you feel like everything is going wrong and you and this is it. This is the one where you're going to go to jail or whatever for being such a lousy human who didn't do it right or whatever it is that you're thinking. working and cleaning and these productive things can be an outlet as well. And those are the most important things to me. And I didn't realize that until I took a break from playing music.
One day. And of course, there are so many factors as to why games can be hard to enjoy nowadays. There are problems such as having too many options, not being able to access or run the games you enjoy, or even problems like depression and ADHD can get in the way of you enjoying yourself. However, 9 times out of 10, burnout is the biggest factor, and taking a proper break can help you to take a step back and reapproach games with a new mindset.
And burnout is such a real thing. People who have never done something intensely enough and for a long enough amount of time to reach a burnout period have no idea that this is a true thing that happens. But I can't explain to you the way that there are times in my life where I'm sitting on the couch and I've pushed myself so far beyond my limits that I just think, oh, I literally can't do anything. I can't get up right now. I wish I could, but I can't. And learning how to not to deal with the burnout, but to make sure that I don't hit that period because that period is so bad. What I do now is when I start to feel that approach, I just take a day or 2 or 3 or how many ever days it takes, and I just kind of do nothing. And I know I'm in a very privileged position to be able to do that, but I do the bare minimum of what I have to do. I get the orders together for our business. I get that stuff out. I make sure that the bills are paid, but with the rest of my time, I am just chilling on my phone, watching TV, not doing anything that makes me have to click into something, playing an easy video game or something in that nature.
I hope that this video can help you reignite that passion for gaming. These tips come straight from my experience, but I'm also still figuring out how to enjoy all the games I was once crazy about. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, as it really helps me out. Maybe share this video with someone you know who's struggling with enjoying games recently. And if you have any thoughts on what I talk about in this video, good or bad, or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
And I mean, just when it all comes down to it, I think that I've sort of solved this problem for myself already. I don't make myself do something that I really, really, really don't want to do. If I get bored of World of Warcraft, I stop playing World of Warcraft, and I don't say, oh, I take breaks or I'm quitting or whatever people say. I just let it fall off. I let that last 4 days of my subscription count down, and I don't renew. I buy a subscription. I don't do a subscription. Actually, I buy 2 months at a time. I let it count down and I let it go away, and then I just don't think about it for a while. Move over to the next game that I haven't played in an amount of time. This time it was RuneScape, and I've been playing RuneScape, and I see that there's a burning event coming up on MapleStory. I haven't played MapleStory in forever, and I'll go play that whenever that event comes out. Right now I'm playing Fortnite and doing this, and then when I get through grinding through this battle pass, I'll probably stop playing Fortnite for a while. And I just do that because I know that I get so burned out on a video game to where I absolutely hate it. I had to do that with Dead by Daylight recently, where I just stopped playing Dead by Daylight because I was just miserable logging into that game every single day. But that's the beauty of a hobby like gaming, is there's so many different facets of it and so many different games that you can play that you can jump around and still stay in that hobby without having to do this one thing over and over again. That would be like if playing guitar, I only ran scales every single day of my life for years and years. And I hate playing guitar. Yeah, I bet you do, dude. That sounds awful. Learn a song, my brother. Why don't you just jam a little bit? Put on a backing track and solo. Why are you doing this to yourself? Don't forget that at the end of the day, hobbies are a way of connecting yourself to what it is that you want to be. You can identify who you are very well through the feeling that you're getting while you're doing a hobby that you enjoy. By knowing what it is that you like about that hobby, you know what it is that you are, and that's the best part about it.